class, today what we're going to be learning about is Prussia. And we're going to be talking about Prussia's most famous ruler, Frederick the Great. Alright, so take out your books, take out your packets, open your packet up to page 18 on Frederick, and we'll talk about this area.
Alright, Prussia. Russia, no. Prussia. There's no Prussia. Mr. Keeper, there's no Prussia. There's no Prussia!
Live from Badger High School, it's IWS Today!
It's IWS Today! With Mr. Kiefer! And starring Mr. Clock! Ladies and gentlemen, it's IWS Today! Now your hosts, Mr. Kiefer and Mr. Clock!
Good morning and happy Friday. I'm Mr. Kiefer.
And I'm Mr. Plock, and this is IWS Today.
Today, we're in a spot that no longer exists.
And we will be learning about Frederick the Great and Prussia.
So grab a bottle of orange crush because we're about to fulfill your thirst for knowledge about Prussia. I'm your little known historian. On today's episode, we're looking at Frederick the Great. Now, we've read about Louis XIV and what he did on a day-to-day basis. Let's take a look at Frederick's life.
My life be like, ooh, yeah, ooh. My life be like, ooh, yeah, ooh.
Frederick had a miserable upbringing.
No television for a week. What?
When he was young, his father had his best friend beheaded.
Excuse me, what are you doing?
Frederick was a major patron of the arts,
I love it. Me too.
meaning he would pay people
There you go. Thank you, sir. There you go.
to have works of art done and for them to conduct scientific experiments. Frederick the Great was a very gifted musician.
Never had one lesson.
In fact, his head actually had a permanent tilt to it because he played the flute so much. Frederick was known to be a huge correspondent with members of the Enlightenment, the most intellectual people of the time. Frederick was known as a philosopher king. And he was even quoted as saying that he was the first servant of the state. Frederick was known for taking some very daring military tactics. For example, the War of Austrian Succession. Prussia's army became so powerful under Frederick that they were known as the Sparta of the North. Things in Prussia were not too bad.
Bueller. 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 Bueller.
However, Frederick did end up banning torture. Frederick established religious toleration. meaning the people could practice whatever religion they wanted freely. Prussia, Russia, and Austria
He taught me, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
all ended up splitting up the Kingdom of Poland.
Polish sausage. Big
It's a family thing, I think. My brother's in it.
Sausage.
Everybody.
Bears.
And Frederick was able to take a large portion of it to add on to his own kingdom. Hey Prussia!
What's going on?
Prussia was a historically prominent German state that began in 1525. Now, it was dissolved in 1947 and no longer technically exists. However, for centuries, the House of Hohenzollern ruled Prussia, successfully expanding its size by way of an unusually well-organized and effective army, where Prussia even had the nickname the Sparta of the North. Now, its capital was in Berlin, and it decisively shaped the history of Germany.
Today, Prussia is gone, totally dissolved, and its territories now exist within eastern Germany, western Poland, and southwest Lithuania.
In 1871, Prussia's population numbered just a little bit over 24 million people, accounting for 60% of the total German population. By 1910, its population had increased to a little over 40 million, which was about 62% of the German Empire. At its peak, Prussia was roughly the same size in area as Germany is today.
Prussia was the first state to officially adopt Lutheranism in 1525. In the wake of the Reformation, Prussia was dominated by two major Protestant confessions, Lutheranism and Calvinism.
Now let's see what's going on with that culture guy.
Last episode, we tested your teacher's knowledge on how they know Caribbean culture. Now let's test your knowledge on a game called Prussia or Russia. You may be wondering what the piece of paper on your desk is for. I'm going to ask you 10 questions. Those questions are going to be related to Russian or Prussian culture. Your job is to guess which one it's related to. If you think it's Russian, put an R. If you think it's Prussian, put a P. Question 1. Which country greets people with "Allo"? The answer was Prussia. Question 2. Which country had the famous ruler Frederick the Great? The answer was Prussia. Question 3. Which country has a geographical feature, the Ural Mountains? The answer was Russia. Question 4. Which country is known as the Sparta of the North? The answer was Prussia. Number 5. Which country's capital is Moscow? The answer was Russia. Number 6. Which country's most famous dish is beef stroganoff? The answer was Russia. Number 7. Which country no longer exists? The answer was Prussia. Number 8. Which country's most prominent religion is Eastern Orthodox? The answer was Russia. Number 9. Which of the two countries has the holiday Defense of the Fatherland? The answer was Russia. Last question, number 10. Which country's national anthem is this? The answer was Prussia.
When Frederick the Great was a young boy and his father was king, they kind of had a little bit different personalities. In fact, to toughen Frederick up, his father once had his best friend beheaded in front of Frederick.
No way.
Way.
There are actually more museums in Berlin than there are rainy days, with 108 museums and only 106 rainy days.
No way.
Way.
Not only was Frederick the Great a fan of museums, but he also liked a little philosophy. In fact, Frederick was close friends with the philosopher Voltaire and would even invite him into his palace to hang out and chill.
No way.
Way.
There are 110,000 dogs in Berlin.
No way.
Way.
Wow, so you probably better make sure you're not stepping in dog poo when walking through Berlin.
That'd be a really rough start to the morning.
Now let's go live back to the classroom, room 133, the classroom of champions, to Mr. Plock for IWS Now. Thank you for watching today's program. We'll see you next Friday.